So the economist we are talking about today is Ronald Coase. Ronald Coase won a Nobel Prize for economics in early 90s and for some work he did in his 20s. And Ronald Coase was one of the practical economists, and he was someone who actually studied the the ground work of industries and came up with theories. There is a cause theory by his name, and he had a major contribution to economics, and especially uh, uh, the structure of production and how it works in industries and the firms. And when he got the Nobel Prize in early 90s, he was around the around the age of 80, or in his late 70s, and for something he did in his 20s. I mean, that's crazy because when he did, he never thought that he would won a Nobel Prize for the work. And the 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 paper is this, and the actually I've taken the um, hard hard print of the hard print of the his research, and I want to discuss that. So Ronald Coase was English economist. He was born in England in early tenth. I don't remember the exact year, but he was very old. He died very old. He died where, at the age of 100 or 101. And he had this long life where he studied at the universities of England, universities in England, and then he was a scholar there, and then he worked in major universities of United States. Some of the one of the university was University of West Virginia, and so this is the paper actually. Uh, so uh, the first chapter of the big book he wrote about for the research he got the Nobel Prize for. The first chapter of the book is the institutional structure of production, and he gave this theory that every production, every structure of production should have an institution in the core, and the I'm going to read the points I have marked or highlighted. I will be speaking of the part of economics which has come to be called industrial organization. But to understand its present state, it is necessary to say something about the development of economics in general. During the 2 centuries since the publication of Wealth of Nation, the book wrote by Adam Smith, he was capitalist economist, also known as the father of economics. The main activity of economists, it seems to me, has been to fill the gaps in Adam Smith's system. And he's talking about how, I mean, it was in the late 18th century when Adam Smith published his Wealth of Nations. And Wealth of Nation was this major and first book written majorly on political economics. At the time, I don't think they had the term economics. They used to call it political economics and political history, something like that, because they thought economies have governors, and he's saying that economists are trying to fill the gaps in Adam Smith's theory, which to some extent is he's right there, because if you read a lot of theory from the 20th century and the 19th century, especially 19th century, you can kind of spot that. A principal theme of Wealth of Nation was the government regulation or the centralized planning were not necessary to make an economic system function in an orderly way. And he's saying that you let the economics work by themselves, and the lesser the intervention is in the market, or the less governors there are or economies, the more would be the growth. You don't need any government regulation and governors for economic to be functional or highly functional. Then he says the economy could be coordinated by a system of prices, the invisible hand, and furthermore with beneficial results. A major task of economists since the publication of Wealth of Nations, as Harold Demeets has explained, has been to formalize this proposition of Adam Smith. And he's saying that that invisible hand means when we work when the workers or anybody works, because a worker is working to get a wage or get the money or salary, but in unintentionally he's working. There's something happening. There is something beyond the relationship that I'm working for you and you are giving me money. Beyond that, there is something which is benefited to the society in whole, and that is invisible hand with the beneficial result. And then he's explaining that the economists since Adam Smith are formalizing this proposition that put less governors on the economies, and the economy will be better. The given factor are technology and the taste of consumers, and the factors which affect the economies are technology and the taste of consumer behaviorism, and the growing technology. Individuals who follow their own interest are governed in their choices by a system of prices. Individuals who follow their own interest are governed in their choices by a system of prices. And then he explained that how um, consumers are interested in the price of a commodity or a good rather than the good itself. So sometimes we buy something because something is cheap enough that I don't have to buy that, but something is so cheap that I should buy it. For example, economists have uncovered the conditions necessary if Adam Smith results are to be achieved, and where, in the real world, such conditions do not appear to be found, they have proposed changes which are designed to bring them about. Then he's saying that Adam Smith theory works good. I mean, works to the extent that you can say that he was logical and intellectual, and that's why for probably a century, um, um, his theory, he was the one person initially. There was not a lot of theory. You have to understand that in the 18th century, to be a theorist about economies and the industry was a very vague thing. And the Adam Smith, who was a Scot, who was from Scotland, and he came up with these theories about how industry should work and how production should be in the industry, and how nations could increase their wealth, and what are the factors which drastically put their growth in decrement, or whether that economy is getting bigger or bigger. That means increment. It is what one finds in the textbook. Harold Demetz has said rightly that what this theory analyzes is a system of extreme decentralization. And now, again, he then there, there comes his criticism that there is an extreme decentralization among economics. Sometimes because Adam Smith said something 300 years ago or 250 years ago, about that put less governor on economies and your economies will be great. He said that 250 years ago. And so the whole concentration is that there should be decentralization, and that approach in um, going for the argument of Adam Smith, the, we somehow support extreme um, decentralization, and that's what he's talking about it here. It has been a great intellectual achievement, and it throws light on many aspects of the economic system, but it has not been by any means all gain. Thus, concentration on the determination of prices has led to a narrowing of focus, which has had as a result the neglect of other aspects of economic system. Because we are, again, we either believe that there should be centralized system, or there should not be a centralized system, and the whole debate ha- is going around these two things, whether there should be centralization and decentralization. And the whole 20th century 20th century was based on this argument, and the biggest countries and biggest group of nations were fighting over this, that whether your economy should be centralized or decentralized. And and because some countries were socialist and some countries were capitalist, and so the whole energy is going in this argument, and the focus is, I mean, he's saying that that is important for you to concern that your economies should be centralized or not centralized. But he's saying that you're putting too much, um, we are putting too much efforts on this. So sometimes, indeed, it seems as though economists conceive of their subject as being concerned only with the pricing system, and anything outside that is considered as no part of their business. And he's saying that economists sometimes think that we are only supposed to be concerned about the prices of commodities and the goods and the services and the utilities and anything related to that. Outside that, we are not responsible. We don't have any control over that. And that, because everything is economics or is related to economics, because we live in a world where we have very limited resources, and anything that is around us is limited, or eventually limited. For example, paper, the paper we have, this paper, it is limited because there will be a limit to, to which to the extent we can exploit trees and can make papers. And that's what I'm saying, that is everything for like at what temperature milk milk boils, that is also the part of economics. Because economics says that to boil a milk you need energy, and energy costs money, energy costs something, energy is expensive, energy is has an exchange value, or value use, or use value, not value use. So he's talking about that to economists everything should be a part of economics, not just the pricing system. Thus my old chief and wonderful human being, Lionel Robbins, that's other economist, wrote in the nature of he wrote this research, the nature and significance of economic science, about the glaring deficiencies of the old treatment of the theory of production, with its discussion of peasant proprietorships and industrial forms. And the conclusion he's drawing from his research is, it suggests that from the point of view of economists, organization is a matter of internal industrial or agricultural arrangement, if not internal to the firm, at any rate internal to the industry. And he's saying that organization is the organization is an internal industrial arrangement, and not to the extent internal something intrinsic in it, but at any rate internal to the industry. At some point, every industry has this, or every firm has this internal, because because for example, organization looks outward but works inward, because, and that's the right way how they should work. They should look up outward and work inward,